afternoon. Thank you very much for coming for this very special occasion here in the USC basketball tradition. I'd like to tell you the format of what we're going to do today. We're going to have our athletic director, Pat Hayden, make some opening comments. Then we're going to have our new basketball coach, Andy Enfield, make some comments. Then we will take questions from the media, please. And then we will do some one-on-ones with the media. So without further ado, let me bring up Pat Hayden.
Thank you. Nice to have all my employees applauding for me. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Before I introduce a new coach, I wanted to thank a number of people who have really made this day and this decision possible. In our staff, Donna Heinel, J.K. McKay, Mark Jackson, I think some of them or all of them are here. And in particular, Steve Lopes, our Chief Operating Officer, have really spent a lot of time over the last 3-4 months arriving at this moment. Really important moment for us. Thank you very much. And also a special thanks to Jed Hughes and Corn Ferry, who helped us over the last 3 months as well. Another special thank you goes to Bob Cantu, Peter Horton, and Tony Miller, our coaches, who, under difficult circumstances, really showed their class. I'm just so proud to be associated with those guys. It's a very, very difficult job they had, not knowing what their future would be. But they were fantastic Trojans, honorable men, and we will support them any way we can going forward. So I really want to thank our basketball staff. USC basketball should be relevant. USC basketball should be relevant. But let's be honest, it has not been relevant for a while. We're about to change that, we believe. We believe we have many, many assets here at USC to make us relevant and actually a force in basketball. We have a top school, ranked 23rd U.S. News Report. We've got great athletic and basketball facilities, as you're well aware. We've got a stable conference in the Pac-12. You've got Los Angeles. You've got great high school basketball being played within a free throw of here. And you've got an athletic department that wants to win basketball in the worst way, win it and have a great program, not just a year or two of good basketball, but build a long-term successful basketball program. That is where we see ourselves. We want to reset the basketball culture starting today. What we've been missing really is the right leadership for our program, and why we believe we have that in Andy Enfield. You know, with all due respect, taking a good look at Andy, and then taking a good look at his wife Amanda, that he's got an eye for talent and he's an exceptional recruiter. Amanda, we want to welcome you to the Trojan family as well. They have 3 fantastic kids. We hope this is going to be a great journey for you. Your kids will be hanging out with my grandkids as we go to basketball games and volleyball games and the whole bit. But the Trojan family is a very special family, and you're now part of it. So welcome, Amanda, and your family. I know a lot has been made of Andy over the last few weeks, but I think when I've looked at him, when we've looked at Steve and I and our team, it really looked at a lifetime of success. He is the son of 2 educators. Both his parents were teachers. He was his high school valedictorian, went on to a great institution, played basketball at Johns Hopkins, where he scored over 2,000 points, set a record, as some of you know, in free throw percentage shooting. Then went on and worked for Anderson Consulting, got his MBA at Maryland, has been a part of 2 startup companies that have been very, very successful. Had a great, very successful pro basketball coaching career. We developed over 100 professional basketball players. Worked with Rick Pitino in Boston as well as an assistant. And 5 terrific years at Florida State. We were an assistant for Leonard Hamilton, who had nothing but good things to say about Andy when I talked to him several times over the last week. In the last 2 weeks, as you know, he's had an incredible run in the tournament. So why Andy? I think it's some of the life success that I've talked about. It hasn't just been the last 2 or 3 weeks. Certainly those 5 years of great work at FSU. The turnaround of the basketball program over the last 2 years. Let's be honest, we do have a turnaround situation here. We think Andy can handle that. He's young, he's innovative, innovative, he's a proven recruiter, but more importantly, he's a teacher and he can develop talent. That is very, very attractive to us. He's had a long, long record of doing just that. Academics are important to him, as you can tell by his academic background and his parents as well. And his up-tempo offense and style, they'll also attract him, and I think will resonate well with the basketball community locally and internationally and nationally, of course, also. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next basketball coach, Andy Enfield. Andy?
Thank you. Well, this is a dream come true. I want to thank Pat, next basketball coach at USC. I still can't believe it. This has been a dream of mine since I was a young child. Grew up in a basketball family. My father was a 9th grade coach for 20-some years, a varsity coach in a small town in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. So to be here in front of you today is just an unbelievable dream, something I've been working towards for many, many years. It's an honor to be here at one of the greatest institutions in the United States. I used to drive by USC. My brothers lived here for 15 years. I used to drive by this place and say, wow, what a great place. And to be in front of you is just overwhelming, and it's a great sense of personal pride to see all of you here. Family to me is the most important thing. When I met with Pat and the administration, they portrayed this family atmosphere, and it's true. I have a wonderful family. I have 2 siblings. My brother lives here. My sister lives in Washington, D.C. My parents still live in the same town in Pennsylvania. I look forward to bringing them onto this campus. That's why I left the NBA to come to college. I wanted to be part of a college environment, have my kids grow up around a college environment. And I look forward to meeting everyone in this room and many more people on campus. A background about my life, I did go to Johns Hopkins University, went to business school at Maryland, was in the MBA, and when I was in the transition period, doing some MBA consulting, I lived in New York City and worked out at a health club in Manhattan. I used to play pickup basketball. And I was in my 30s, so I said, you know, it's about time to find a wife and settle down. I didn't want to be too old to have children. But the NBA lifestyle was difficult. I was fortunate to play at a nice health club in New York, and we used to play pickup basketball. And if you lost, you'd have to wait for 30 or 40 people, and you wait an hour sometimes to get back on the court. So you didn't want to lose. And I just happened to play with this beautiful woman and her husband. They would play, and they were models in New York City. And this girl, Jenny, she's a big-time athlete, and she used to always want to be on my team. And her husband was great, too. But I used to pass Jenny the ball. A lot of other guys wouldn't. So I'd make sure we'd be up. I was still in pretty good shape back then. I used to pass her the ball. She could make some shots, and got to be good friends with Jenny and her husband, Arlen. All of a sudden, one day, Jenny comes up to me and says, hey, Andy, I know you're a coach. I'm trying to go to the NCAA tournament game in Boston. There was an NCAA first-round game in Boston. We were in New York City. My friend has tickets. Are you going to go? Maybe we could meet up with you in Boston. I said, yeah, I'm going. In fact, I'm planning on driving up in 2 days. I said, how are you getting here? She said, well, we're going to fly. I said, don't fly. I'm happy to drive you and save you $1,000 in tickets and drop you off wherever you want to go in Boston. So she said, oh, that'd be great. Let me check with my friend, make sure it's okay. And she came back the next day. She said, sure, just pick us up. We'd love for you to take us. So the next day, I get to go to Boston. I'm ready to go. I get my car. I drive up to the Starbucks in Manhattan. And out of the Starbucks, watch Jenny and her friend, Amanda. They got my car. And I said, oh, this is going to be a great trip. Thank you, Lord. This is going to be a great trip. Well, it was a great trip. And then as we were going up to Boston, Amanda's from Oklahoma City, a small town outside Oklahoma City. She's a huge Oklahoma State fan. Her father had season tickets, football and basketball. She likes college football and basketball more than I do. So we had a lot in common that weekend. Our first date was back in New York a week later. I didn't take her to some high-end restaurant in Manhattan. I took her to Taco Bell at St. John's Arena at the Student Center because We were going to an NIT basketball game at St. John's and sat right behind the bench, and I'll never forget the comment that she made. Literally, we were 2 feet behind the bench. The huddle of the team was around us in the timeouts. I'll never forget this. After the second media timeout, the sweat was flying off the players. A few drops landed on her, and she looked at me and said, "Do these guys always smell like this?" I said, hey, you're in the game. You can be a coach, right? You're in the huddle, so just enjoy it. Well, we had a lot of fun. Our first few days all revolved around college basketball. Amanda would go to a sports bar in Manhattan by herself, and when you're a female going into a sports bar in Manhattan, you're one of very few females in the bar. She'd sit by herself and tell the bartender to put on a Oklahoma State football game on the one satellite. Of course, they couldn't play it over. It'd be a riot if you put OSU on the whole screen, but she would sit by herself and watch OSU football by herself, and I said, man, that's the type of woman I want to be married to. Whenever you have that passion for sports well, we moved on from that. We were married, and she was a successful model in New York. She left home at age 18 with no money, didn't know anyone, lived in an apartment with 4 or 5 other aspiring models, and she made it in New York. And I realized that her background was much like mine. Doesn't matter what people think, what they say. If it's in here, and you have a dream, you can do it. And I give her all the credit in the world because she had to leave with failure and come back. A few months later, after she worked in a grocery store and got enough courage to try it again, and she became an extremely successful model and flew all over the world. And when I met her, she was still in her prime of her career. Well, then, I wanted to get into college coaching. I had a great opportunity at Florida State University. And this woman over here gave up her career in her prime to be a coach's wife and start a family. And we moved to Tallahassee, Florida, which is a great place, but it's not Manhattan. It's not Los Angeles or Milan or Paris or London, wherever she's been. We have 3 beautiful young children. We had a great time at Florida State. It's a football school like this. Helped Leonard Hamilton, my boss there, build the program up. Went to 3 or 4 straight NCAA tournaments. I went to 3 at a Sweet 16 appearance. Won the ACC last year in my first year as a head coach. Those guys that we helped build the program with, and I give Leonard amazing credit because he's a master at building basketball programs. And I learned a lot from that. He was at Oklahoma State, at Miami, and then Florida State, and he learned how to build programs. And so when I was prepared to take a head coaching job at Florida Gulf Coast University, I had to build a program. I know most of you did before 2 weeks ago, had never heard of FGCU. Certainly didn't know where it was, what the letter stood for, what the mascot was. But I'm sure most of you that have watched TV in the last 2 weeks now know. Well, I took what I learned from Leonard and tried to instill that with building a program at Florida Gulf Coast University. Had a great AD there, Ken Cavanaugh, who was a basketball guy, and he understood the importance of sports on campus and what it took. But when I walked in there, I lost our leading scorer, leading rebounder, who was the same guy, and our leading assist man. They left the program because they didn't want to go to class, did some things off the court, and we were trying to build a culture of winning with positive attitudes and build something special. It took us about 1.5 years before I said, wow, we're a really good basketball team, but more importantly, we have a chemistry among our players and our program that I've never seen before. And if we can keep this up, we are going to do something special this year. And we went into the second half of the season. We kept getting better and better. We beat Miami early in the year by 12. We won the ACC, and we were pumped up and had some ups and downs, but we just kept getting better. And our players developed. We have a very specific player development program that I've done in the NBA, I did at Florida State, did at FGCU, and we're going to do here. And our players became better shooters, passers, ball handlers, could finish with both hands in the lane. They could have post moves, they could defend, they could push the ball down the court, make decisions going full speed. And by the end of the season, we won 7 in a row, then we lost a couple on the road, then we won seven more. And beat Mercer, who was in our league, for the championship on their home court. They were 15-0 at home, and they beat Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida State this year. They're a great team. I said, wow, we're in the NCAA tournament. Had Georgetown, the Big East co-champ, in the first round. I said, you know what? Our players are talented enough because we've done that development, and they have that team chemistry like I've never seen. We're going to go win some games. And our players believed. And we walked into the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia and beat the best team in the Big East. And if you watch the game, we didn't squeak by. We scored more points, 78, than any team all year on them because we play an up-tempo, very controlled style. We try to score in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock. We push the ball. We defend. We're top 20 in the nation in steals. My shooting guard was third in the nation. Bernard Thompson, third in the nation in steals. And we ran, and we threw alley-oops, and we kicked out, we hit threes, and we defended. It was something we had worked for the last 2 years. It was unbelievable to see how good our players were at that time. Then we went into the second round against San Diego State, who had such a tremendous year, and what a great coach they had. And we scored 81 points in that game with the same style and the same flair. And now we're in the Sweet 16 at Florida Gulf Coast University. And that was something that you might say, well, how did you get there? Well, that was 20 years of maybe 30 years of me sitting on the couch with my father watching ACC basketball growing up and going out in the backyard and dreaming about having my own program and learning from Mike Dunleavy, who I coached in Milwaukee, Rick Pitino in Boston, Leonard Hamilton at Florida State. Learning from all the great coaches I've watched and coached with and against, and implementing a style of basketball and a culture of winning to be successful. And that's what we did. And I'm so proud of those players. And it was a most heartbreaking few minutes of my life when I told them I was coming to USC. But at the same time, this is still a dream. This is where I want to be. And I know they say, well, you're an East Coast guy. Well, if you're a basketball coach, you coach anywhere. If you can recruit anywhere. And if you have a winning culture and program, you can win big anywhere. And I often dreamed about having a place like this that has the tradition, the resources, the support of the fans, the community, the administration, the student body, the Galen Center, one of the nicest places to play in the country, a Los Angeles recruiting market where I can get my car and drive and see numerous great players within the same day or 2 days instead of getting on a flight and having to fly all over the place. To have a national brand where players from all over the country and internationally will come and want to go to school here because it's a top 25 or 30 academic school in the country. Some of the programs are ranked even higher. To have great graduate programs. And to have the tradition and the excitement of what USC can bring. So this is a dream for me. And my family looks forward to becoming part of the Trojan family. I know it's going to take a while before we can all sit down and talk, but I look forward to that. So I want to thank you for believing in me, Pat, and the rest of the administration. And one thing I can say, I'm going to show up every day in this office with my coaching staff and make this a better place than it was the day before. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Questions from the media?
Coach, what are your first initial thoughts on the rivalry, crosstown rivalry with UCLA?
Well, UCLA has a tremendous basketball tradition. They just hired a new coach who's been successful. I don't know Steve very well as personally. I certainly respect him, and I respect what they've done there. I'm focused on USC and what we're going to do. I'm focused on the future of USC basketball and no one else.
Hey, Coach Jim Hill, see you guys. Welcome to Los Angeles. You and your roommate, so to speak. How surprised were you when USC came to you, and how much credit do you give March Madness for being named the head coach here now?
They always said the tournament is a place to make a name for yourself, and our school certainly did. I think they did a study when some of the other mid-majors went to deep in the tournament. It was $500 million, $700 million worth of advertising. So my first reaction was, look what we did for the school at Florida Gulf Coast University and the surrounding community of Southwest Florida, because that's what it's all about. When you're a head coach, The second thing, when Amanda we received so much national media attention because of our team success, but also our personal backgrounds. And she said, and I said many times, it's not about us as people or coach or the wife. It's about our team and our university. Sure, we all made names for ourselves. The university, the Southwest Florida community, and myself in the coaching industry. But I've been doing this a long time. I know a lot of people, but to get a job like USC, you have to do something. You have to prove that you're a winner, and you have to prove that you've done something. And I think we did that, and that's why I'm so excited to be here.
Anyone?
Have you started looking around for assistant coaches yet?
Yes. My intention is to hire the best staff, most well-rounded staff if possible. We are a national university here. We need to be able to recruit locally, and Southern California has great players. They always have. This area is just a hotbed for basketball. So we need to have a huge presence and develop relationships within Southern California. However, USC is a national and worldwide known university with great academics, great tradition. So my plan is to be able to go into any home in the United States and tell them what we have, and hopefully my staff will be able to do that. I plan on having a Southern California presence on my coaching staff, someone that knows the area, has been here, or worked with people in the area, and just make decisions here in the next week, 10 days, to make sure we have the staff that I'm comfortable with and can do that.
If you had a chance to talk to the returning players at all, and how important is that for you when you look at the way things set up for this year coming?
Just met the players this morning. Just flew in late last night. Look forward to meeting them individually. I think it's important that we develop relationships. We'll get on the court for workouts next week. I'm leaving for the Final Four, and I know I need to hire a coaching staff as well, talk to some people, come back, meet with all the players by Monday and Tuesday, get them on the court, and we'll start from there. I watched a little bit of film on our team, very impressed with what I saw. I think there's a lot of potential, and the thing that impressed me the most was the development. With our player development program, what we do, I'm just projecting where these guys are going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, and I'm very, very excited for it.
Coach, a lot of the players that you're going to have are older, experienced, senior-type guys. You talked about, in your first speech about how Florida Gulf Coast was a 2-year process for you with a lot of those guys, and what we saw in the tournament was a 2-year process. How far do you think you could take the upperclassmen that are coming back next year in a year's worth of time?
Well, at FGCU, if we didn't have the upperclassmen, we never would have achieved what we did. Sherwood Brown had an okay sophomore year. He was a walk-on originally. This year, with our player development program we have, the last year and a half, 2 years, he was player of the year in the league, averaged 17, 18 points in the NCAA tournament in 3 games. He just made Associated Press honorable mention All-American, and will be in the 3-point contest in Atlanta this week. That's what I'm talking about, player development. Okay, Bernard Thompson came out of high school as a streaky shooter, had a lot of efficiencies in his game. He scored 23 points against Georgetown and San Diego State, and is 3rd in the nation in steals. That's what I'm talking about, player development. So this is all about the upperclassmen right now. Our existing roster has to win games for us next year. And I know we'll bring some freshmen in, but our existing roster has to improve, and they're the guys that we're going to rely on. And that's why it's so important that we develop that culture, and that comes over time, because the returnees are the cornerstone of your program. And sure, you have to bring in talent for the future, and maybe you bring in some freshmen or talent to play, but these guys that I just met with this morning are what I'm focused on, and I can't wait to get started.
Could you do kind of a little specific rundown of what exactly the player development program is? How do you do that?
Well, I know this is in the media, so I'm going to refrain from giving all the secrets away, but it's just something I've developed over many years. I started in the NBA as an assistant coach. I was a shooting coach, an assistant coach, a player development coach. my personal belief is players don't come in ready to affect the game at the highest level right out of high school. Now, can they contribute and play a lot of minutes? Of course. But there's a big difference between an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old with their body maturity and their skill development if it's done the right way. And I adjust shooting techniques. If you're a streaky shooter, there's a reason. I have two instructional shooting videos in the market. I did the first one with Glenn Rice and Charlotte Hornets. Did the second one by myself with some high school players, how to adjust shooting techniques. So shooting's a big part of it. But the ball handling, the finishing, the passing, we throw a lot of lob passes at FGC. Well, I learned that in the NBA. It's hard to throw a pass to a big guy right here in the chest because they got to move their hands fast. If it's a hard pass, he can't catch and he can't finish. You got to throw it up or down. And we work on that. You drill that. My first year at FGCU, we were throwing lob passes in the 8th row of the stands. This year, we're throwing it 2 inches from the rim and they're dunking it with guys in their face. So it's just a progress of what we feel necessary in our system. Our system is so fast-paced and up-tempo and exciting to play, and that's why I think players in this area are going to be thrilled to come play in this. But if you want to play fast, you got to practice fast, and you have to drill each aspect of it. So when you're in transition or in a half court, you're going full speed getting by your guy, and now it's time to step around the big guy and finish with your left hand. You better be able to do it, or shoot a floater over a 7-footer. So there's a lot of things that we go into. I'm just giving you a few examples, but it's very specific, and all guys want to be professional basketball players. Education's important, yes. We're going to get their degrees, but on the court, they want to be pros, and that has been my goal ever since I was a college coach. What are you going to do to make them a pro? All they got to do is come with a work ethic, and they'll be a pro.
Let's do one last question.
Coach, welcome. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. One of the things we've been really proud of at USC is the fact that we've got great athletes who are also great students and are going great places in their future in addition to their athletic career. And one of the things I'm really excited about to see you as a Trojan is this great academic background you have as well. How do you kind of deal with that with your players in terms of development, both as students and as athletes?
Well, as Pat said, I'm a son of 2 school teachers. I chose my college based on academics. I could have played a lot of places. I chose Johns Hopkins University because it's in the city of Baltimore, and I wanted to get a great education and play college basketball. Went back to get my MBA in finance, University of Maryland, and I had a great appreciation of the value of education, what it can do for you in the real world and throughout your life. I didn't necessarily understand it as much when I was doing it, but when I was done with it and look back, it's amazing. And the intriguing thing about USC is it's one of the top academic institutions in the world. The alumni base here is astounding. Just the USC alumni have been so successful, and most of them, a lot of them still live in this area. And it's important for my basketball players to engage not only the student body, but from an educational standpoint, the alumni. I bring speakers into my basketball program. I encourage our players. We set up anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 meetings outside within the community, different specific businesses. If they want to be in communications, we'll give them 8 meetings or not interviews, but to find out more about their field. If they want to go into finance, they want to go into to be a teacher. So I think it's important that they get a well-rounded college experience. I don't mess around with education. I know what it did for me. I know what it's done for a lot of people. Our kids are going to go to class. We'll give them all the support they need. And when I was a student athlete, and I had an 8 a.m. class, I just talked to my FGCU team about this a few weeks ago. Do you really think I want to go to class at 8 a.m.? Do you think I really enjoyed sitting there for an hour and a half until 9:30? No. But you do it because you're committed to success. You're committed to being a student athlete. And we have tutors, we have study hall, we have great academic support here. And I spend a lot of time personally with our players about the value of education, about the value of engaging the student body and the community. And we try to bring the community to us, and we try to go to the community. And that's all part of that real-world educational experience where when they leave here, they're done playing professional basketball, they can come back and be the next USC alumni that's successful living here in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Coach. We'll do some quick pictures here up front, then we'll break over here for the media for some one-on-ones with Pat and Andy. So again, thank you all for coming.